what advice would you give to folks out there looking for either a co-founder or a business partner outside of their husband or wife?
What's really important, no matter who you're connected to, I think a sense of humor is really important. You can stick to your guns so much, and you have to have mutual respect. So whether it's your husband or your business partner, I think mutual respect is also really important.
Honest Ecommerce is a weekly podcast where we interview direct-to-consumer brand founders and leaders to find out what it takes to start, grow, and scale an online business today. Have you hit a wall with performance marketing on Facebook and Google? It might be time to think about where your next customers are spending their time online. That's where Realize comes in. Realize helps thousands of direct-to-consumer brands to tap into more ad placements across hundreds of premium websites, reaching audiences you just can't find on traditional social channels. With intent-based, contextually relevant ad placements, you can drive real conversions, not just impressions, and expand your acquisition strategy with better data, more control, and higher ROI. Realize helps you build high-performing AI-powered ad experiences backed by 17 years of data. And simple to set up, no bloated dashboards or complicated onboarding, so you can start scaling fast. You can also leverage your own first-party data to retarget people already in your funnel. So if you're ready to go beyond Facebook and Google and start reaching new audiences, head on over to discover.taboola.com/honest, and we can start the new year with a new performance channel. That's discover.taboola.com/honest, discover.taboola.com/honest. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. Today I'm welcoming to the show not one, but two amazing founders. They're joining us from Monica Rich Kosann. It is Monica and Rod, the CCO and CEO respectively of Monica Rich Kosann. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, Chase. We're very excited to be here and to be together doing this. Wow.
I'm excited too. So I guess let's just take me back in time. You have been doing this for over 20 years now. What was the impetus for starting your own jewelry line? When did that idea kind of just take hold and you really start to take it seriously?
Well, it was really more of an evolution, not necessarily a revolution. How we started. My roots are in photography. And I was doing photography for a very long time. And I was always a storyteller when I approached my clients. I did private commissions. I did a lot of celebrities, high net worth people. I just kind of traveled all over. But no matter who you were, I always wanted them to tell their story. I never asked them to smile. I would spend a day with them in their natural surroundings. And at the same time, I was very inspired by the photographers of the early 1900s, which was Stieglitz and Steichen and Gertrude Casimir. And they were really the first photographers to photograph daily life and make photography beautiful and not document anything, just sort of like create beauty out of the everyday. And that was what I was trying to create through my photography. And at the same time, I also loved vintage lockets and old cigarette cases and powder compacts. And I used to collect a lot of these old pieces. And eventually what I started to do is take my clients' photos and put them into the old lockets and give them a gift with a locket with their family photo in it, or an old cigarette case or powder compact, and put their photos in it. And it was really my customers who were my inspiration. And they were like, these are beautiful modern day heirlooms. I love the idea that there's so much history and this goes back in time and you're making me a new modern day heirloom today. And they're the ones that inspired me and loved it and kept asking me for more. And it was kind of that aha moment. I think I went back to the studio and I probably said to you, Rod, there's something here. We started with the little cases, but we eventually got into the lockets because I thought lockets were the sexiest piece of jewelry a woman can wear. It was sort of a gateway into storytelling, and it held, a woman's secrets, and it held things close to her hearts. And all the lockets out there were like for grandmas. I wanted lockets that my niece could put a meme in, my daughters could put their dogs in. I wanted it to be more of a secret message holder, and I wanted it to be a cool piece of jewelry that a woman, can hold, her stories in and her celebrations and milestones. And Bergdorf Goodman was our very first client. And that's how it started.
Yeah, it came from a really authentic place. I mean, I think it was, it wasn't, we didn't sit down and try to map out a jewelry business. It really just came from this very authentic story. And I think what happened is after we started with the locket, because, to Monica's point, I think she saw, we both saw the opportunity to kind of reinvent it for a new generation. And then what really became obvious to us after a couple of years is we weren't necessarily just in the locket business. We were in the storytelling business. And we were in this business of personalization and inspiring people based on these secret things that they would put into a locket. And what that grew into was more collections that were based on meaning, that were based on storytelling, that started to tell the client's story instead of telling our story necessarily as a luxury brand. So it was this really interesting, authentic evolution that really launched the brand. And when we actually started, if you had said to us that we would be sitting in the luxury fine jewelry business with this multifaceted distribution of channels and whatnot, 20 years from now, I'm not even sure we could have imagined it at the time. So it really was this kind of nice, authentic story. So
that's amazing. Well, you have already inspired me. I actually really enjoy old things as well. And I was like, wow, do I need another thing to collect? And vintage cigarette cases might be something I start looking for at.
Totally.
Mom and I have been to every flea market
all over the world.
This is over the last 20 years. So, yeah.
And it's very, we're kindred spirits. My first love was photography as well. It's what I went to school for before I eventually
I didn't know that. Amazing.
Dropped out for my second love, which was music. So we can talk about that a bit more after the show. But now you are inspired and you want to kind of bring a new modern flair to these vintage elements. And your flagship product is Lockets. How do you get that first client or I guess buyer or customer, if you want to call it? It's a pretty notable customer. How did that all kind of happen?
Well, in full transparency, Chase, they said no.
Well, most do.
When I first went to them, I went directly to the buyer at Bergdorf's, and I remember the phone call, and I remember him saying, I don't know if you really need something like that. And I'm like, oh, but you do. Because in 21 years ago, there really wasn't personal jewelry. There really wasn't anyone doing that, creating pieces that told the customer story, not my story, but told the customer story. So I remember hanging up the phone and saying, I'm sorry, I am not taking no for an answer. There's no way. And I called him back. I remember this conversation so well. And I literally said to him, you have to give me a chance. I'm telling you, it's going to do phenomenal. I promise you. Just give me, I started on a little pad as big as a placemat. And he was kind of like, okay, I think I just did not let up. And he was kind of like, oh my God, let's just keep this woman quiet. Like, okay, let's give her a pad, go do your thing. They let me do it, which to their credit was amazing. They gave me the chance and I really seized it. And, it became over time a 400 square foot space, at Bergdorf Goodman. And, I always say that, and actually Rod always tells everyone, Monica, I used to say it's my garden. So I was tending to it. That was my garden. And I was in charge of the one store. And then Rod and the team were in charge of the 150 other doors. But Monica was in charge of our Bergdorf's. But, it's not, I didn't take no for an answer.
Yeah, it was when we started, it was a very traditional wholesale strategy. Right? And we went out to the independent jeweler and, to Monica's point, the joke used to be she had one account, I had 99. And when we,
I said 150, sorry.
And in the early days, the first year we started over our garage and it was, it wasn't about emails and it wasn't about texts. It was about making phone calls. And then once nobody picked up, don't leave a voicemail, just call back again 3 hours later. And, so a lot of it was, we had this, this nugget of an idea about personalization through fine jewelry. And, we were really fortunate that as we put this in front of the independent jeweler community, they responded to it in a really positive way and gave us a chance and gave us an opportunity. And, so that was that was the starting point. And it started really with this very classic traditional wholesale model. We were self-financed. We're still self-financed today. So this was always kind of doing it more the old-fashioned way. And, and that was the journey.
I hear from some businesses that had a similar approach. Starting wholesale was the way that they went. And they kind of alluded to, there was kind of like a domino effect to it. Once you get one, they start to all fall into place. And the more you get, the easier it is to get more. Is that what you felt, or did you have a different experience?
The independent jeweler community it's a really beautiful community of people. A lot of these people have longstanding businesses. They know each other. They respect each other's decision making.
They talk to each other.
Yeah, they talk to each other. So it is really nice, because if one store has a nice experience with you, they will share that with others in other communities around the country. So it definitely does start to get easier once you get to build this nice base, and hopefully with success, they share that success in word of mouth. Because each of them are in their own individual communities trying to service those communities. So.
Running an e-commerce business means wearing a lot of hats: founder, marketer, customer service, logistics, and let's be honest, sometimes even therapist. But one thing you shouldn't have to stress about: business insurance. That's where Next Insurance comes in. Next is built specifically for small businesses, including e-commerce brands, making it simple to get the right coverage entirely online in just minutes. Whether you sell handmade candles, athletic wear, or subscription boxes, Next helps protect you from the unexpected, from product liability to shipping mishaps and everything in between. And here's the best part: you can save up to 30% on your business insurance and get peace of mind for as low as $1 per day, knowing Next has your back. With transparent pricing, flexible plans, and instant certificates of insurance, Next gives you the confidence to focus on what matters most: growing your store. So if you're ready to protect your business while scaling your brand, head over to nextinsurance.com/honest to get covered today. That's nextinsurance.com/honest. nextinsurance.com/honest.
Yeah, and I think that, we're also Rod and I were very loyal people, and people we work with are loyal. I mean, some of the wholesale stores we've been with since the beginning, and we're still with them, So,
some of those customers are still customers today. And it's really nice. So,
yeah.
That's amazing. When did you start to diversify the channels, and when did the .com become more of a key player in the business?
Yeah, it's very interesting, because we experimented with it very early, but these were the days too when a lot of the stores didn't, it was very new. People didn't understand it. They thought, well, gosh, if you're online, then you're going after our customer. Our first website wasn't even called richkosann.com. We actually called it something else because we were trying to learn and experiment with it. I think we called it the Fine Art of Family. And it was very much of an experimentation because people didn't want to feel like you were in the retail business. Of course, over the first 10 years to 12 years of our business, that whole outlook started to change. I mean, as e-commerce grew and as e-commerce got better and bigger. And so it was probably, about 10 years ago that we started to really say, we're really fortunate. We know who we are as a brand. We've been able to define it better and better. These wholesale partners who we have, who are just like really wonderful people, have to serve a lot of masters. They have to tell a lot of stories. And part of the challenge is they can't tell every brand story the way every brand would like it to be told. I think it's a universal challenge. And we just felt, we know what the brand is well enough that if we can tell that story to the consumer directly, then all the boats will rise. And maybe all of our customers might not recognize that right off the bat, but we do believe that with time, they will see the value in that. And so it was probably around 10, 11, 12 years ago that we started to make that pivot to this direct-to-consumer e-commerce direction. And we really then, over the first 3 or 4 years, put more and more resources into that. And it really did become a defining part of our business. And the best part being, that it allowed us to show the consumer and the client what the brand really is. And we know that consumers or clients walk into stores because they get that wonderful impression of the brand from our direct efforts and say, you know, what do you have from Rich Kosann? Because I'd love to see the product. So we really do believe that in the end, if we do our e-commerce and direct jobs well, that all the distribution boats will rise.
I fully believe that too. I think some people in this ecosystem like to call it the halo effect, where you invest in any one channel and you'll see it rise. They make the other channels grow as well. And it was interesting to hear you mention that when you started to look into exploring making your direct-to-consumer store more of a key part of the business, that your wholesale partners were a little wary of that. And you're not the first business I've heard that from. Heck, our clients have even told us before on the agency side. And I think that you're right. Now people understand that is just the way it is. But about a decade ago, if you started to mention you were going to sell your own products online, you were definitely getting pushback.
100%. Yeah.
I had a lot of talks with people.
I was just going to say, Rod used to have a lot of talks. That's a good way to put it.
I was really fortunate. They all got forwarded to me. So
yeah. But in the end, it was the right thing, and it really served us. It really served us well. And I think everyone realizes it now. I mean, you have to do that.
Yeah. And again, I think, as we said, you know, the overwhelming share of those customers are still customers today. And I think that, you know, it's all put the business in a better place.
Hey, everybody, just a quick reminder. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't. We're releasing interviews like this every week, so don't miss out. Now back to the interview. What you said about you can tell the story the way that you want to tell the story and give it that best effort. And it does drive that foot traffic to the store, especially for a product like yours or similar products out there where it's luxury and it's more of a considered purchase. They absolutely want to go and touch it. And, you know, that tactile feeling of trying something on and seeing it in real life is something that they can only do at these wholesale partners. There's these retail outlets,
right.
Whereas it's a little more of a decision to make that investment blind online. So it does drive more traffic, I think, in store when it is more of a considered purchase.
Yeah.
And we do have an incredible luxury customer experience. We have the Locket bar where a customer can either come to the store or they could do it online in the privacy of their own home. They choose the locket that they're purchasing, and then we have a whole library of all of our lockets. They choose their locket, and it's literally 3 steps from your phone. You pick your photo or your meme or quote or recipe or flowers, whatever you can screenshot, you can put in your locket, and then it prints out. I like to say almost like if you imagine a cookie cutter, prints out and it's in the size of that particular locket, and you cut it out and you put it in yourself. Or if you're in one of our stores, you know, we do it for you. So it's a great luxury experience. And it's also, you know, our brand really connects people. We're all about connecting. And, you know, it's, you know, when you're in one of our shops, or even if you're online, or even in our wholesalers have access to the Locket bar as well. You know, it just really, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, our lives are on this. I'm holding up my phone, right? And when a customer starts going through their camera roll and you start talking, you know, to the salesperson, or even if you're in the privacy of your own home, it gets nostalgic and you get, you know, this warm feeling, and it's like, you know, it just feels like home. And that's such a great, such a great layer to our brand.
I mean, I think that's one of the things we really wanted to do was not just have the product be a product or a great design. We wanted it to really be an experience. And so very early on, we developed the software, which we've evolved over the last 15 years, where it just becomes easier and easier to take that friction away. Because one of the frictions was, you know, I have this locket. How do I get a photo in? I mean, there was a day when you had to drop a photo into a Word document and try to keep manipulating the corners in order to get it to the right size so you could cut it out. And we were able to create this the software to take the friction out of that. And it really has created, to Monica's point, this wonderful connecting experience, because, you know, I think, what do we all want? with a client. What we all want is we want to find ways to make the client feel like they've had this amazing experience, that it's made them closer to us. And when you sit there in a store and you talk to somebody about what they're going to put into their locket, it really becomes this like wonderful connecting retail experience. And it really does lay the groundwork for that customer to want to come back to the brand and see more and do more, which is obviously the dream scenario that we all as brands try to aim for, is to, allow customers to give us the privilege of being part of their life. So.
And if you think about it, I mean, these are, this is gold object, is an 18 karat gold object or sterling silver object, and how a luxurious object like that can make you feel so warm and so connected and so cozy and nostalgic and make you feel, like you're wearing your story. I always call our pieces like your daily armor. It's almost like your tattoos for the day, except they're not permanent, so you can change it up every day. And they're just pieces that you wear to inspire you for the day or to make you feel good, And that's really the design ethos, and that's the philosophy, which hasn't changed since I was a photographer. It was just another way for a woman to tell her story.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And, I do believe that it does give you that connection with your customers, that the personalization is such a great way to build a better connection with your customer. But to pivot a bit, I do want to talk a bit about partners again, but not your wholesale partners. You and Rod, obviously, Monica, you guys are partners in and of this business. And I was lucky to find a great business partner in the partner that I have at my agency. You obviously are married as well, so that adds another layer of interest to this question.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What advice, I guess, first and foremost, what advice would you give to folks out there looking for either a co-founder or a business partner outside of their husband or wife?
I think that I know that we're married, obviously, but I think that what's really important, no matter who you're connected to, I think a sense of humor is really important, really important. And I also think you have to know when to let something go. You can stick to your guns so much, and you have to have mutual respect. So whether it's your husband or your business partner, I think mutual respect is also really important.
I also think figuring out everybody's lane is 90% of the battle. I mean, there's always going to be overlaps. I think, Monica and I overlap a lot on just creative image and marketing and things like that. But, we can stay in very different lanes most of the time. And it is hard as spouses because it is sort of this 24/7 phenomenon in your life. I think I would say to somebody who wanted to be partners, I would say, you really need to feel like you really trust that person and that you can consider them a friend.
Oh, trust, obviously. Yeah. Gosh.
And a friend as well. I mean, I think, we're married, but I think we're friends. And I think that's really helpful because I think it can make.
Oh, that was so sweet, Rod.
There you go. That's your card. In blue of the There you go, Chase.
No. You hit on everything that I thought you would. Obviously, I think staying in your lane, absolutely. I think the trust is key. Sense of humor is something I never really thought about, but yeah, when things get hard, laughing about it and realizing, the best thing about entrepreneurship is usually a life is not on the line. So it's not that serious. You can roll with the punches. You can make mistakes. You can figure something out,
Right.
So that's the best part about it. And having a good, sense of humor about it, I think just makes it the job worth doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have been in business for nearly 20 years, and very few companies I have hired in that time have performed as well as Electric Eye. They have knowledgeable staff, and our project was delivered on time and on budget. Electric Eye has exceeded my expectations, and I look forward to working with them again. That is a direct quote from one of our clients at Electric Eye. Electric Eye is a Shopify Plus partner that has helped over 100 brands migrate, redesign, and optimize their stores since 2016. If you'd like to increase your conversion rate, average order value, and revenue per session, we are the true Shopify experts you've been looking for. Right now, we're offering a free diagnostic to qualified brands that reach out and mention the podcast. Visit electriceye.io today to schedule a call and send us a message. Find out why we have over 50 5-star reviews in the Shopify Partner Directory. Again, that's electriceye.io, electriceye.io.
You have to enjoy what you're doing no matter what. I feel very strongly about that. If I don't, and I was the same way with raising, I have 2 daughters, or we have 2 daughters. And if you don't wake up in the morning and love what you do, then, I don't know. I feel like you really need to respect what you do and enjoy what you do. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. It also makes it, I think too, as one business grows, we're really fortunate. We have this amazing, very, very dedicated team of people who are really integrated.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
A lot of them have been with us for a long time, and some of them started out of school and they're running parts, serious parts of the business, if not most of the business at this point. And, I think the ability to build that sort of organization also just makes it easy for partners to stay focused on the things that they're supposed to try to do well in terms of strategic visions and, hopefully moving any business to the next level. So, we've been really fortunate to have that.
Absolutely. Now, is there anything I didn't ask you about that you think would resonate with our audience?
I think one of the things that's sort of interesting about the brand is, when we started with the Locket and started with the personalization and the storytelling, I think what we really ended up starting to understand over the last 5 to 7 years is that in the end it's everything became about meaning. And if you actually look at all of our collections, we really ask ourselves, there's so much beautiful jewelry in the world, and we ask ourselves, like, why us? We think that's just a great business principle. Like, why does the world need us? And we say that to each other in product meetings and design meetings all the time. And
right.
What really happened is that these collections, with Monica's eye and taste and whatnot, they're really beautifully, they're beautiful product. And with our design team, they're really well designed. And, but they all mean something, and they all come from this place of meaning. There is really something really interesting behind the collection. And our customer does understand it. We see it with the gift notes that they write. We see it when they give a gift to somebody. And so the brand, again, meaning was just another point of connection. And I think, I think the challenge in this world of a billion channels and a billion messages every single day coming at us from all directions is really to find a space where you really can be differentiated and special. And and this is what we think about all the time.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I'd like to kind of just follow up on that to help all the younger entrepreneurs out there that are listening that want to do something, but maybe they don't have you don't need to have the next Facebook idea. And I mean this with all due respect, you're not reinventing the wheel with the actual product. It's the storytelling. It's the connection with the customer. It's the taste, right? But it's a locket, and what I want to tell the listeners out there is, like, it already existing in the market. But if you can find a more novel way to approach the product, either in a storytelling perspective or in the way that it is solving the problem for your ideal customer, you can build a sustainable business.
I think that I just want to add that, it started with the Locket. It's yes. A lot more, obviously. But I think that to add to what you just said, Chase, I think that if you have a point of view, I think that's really important. I think if you have a point of view, stick to it, if you believe in it, and then eventually it can resonate. I think what happens sometimes when you're starting a business, and, I have 2 daughters and 2 son-in-laws. And so, everyone was at different stages in their lives and everything. I think if you start to please or try to please everyone, that's a mistake. And I don't mean this dramatically. I just mean you just have to please yourself and do what you believe in. And keep your point of view, and eventually it will get through the noise. If you start to try to please everyone, you'll never please everyone. Never. That's the world. You can never please everyone. So I always talk about, the horses in the city, they have those things like this on their face, those,
the blinders.
The blinders. When people ask me like, what about this and what about that, Monica? They're doing this or they're doing that. You know what? And I said the same thing when I was doing my photography. I always stuck to my black and white. I just did what I wanted to do. I stuck to my point of view. I have the blinders on and I just move ahead. I persevere, and hopefully someone will like it and hopefully someone will listen.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Why Us is a great guide for anyone who's starting. And also the other thing too is I think when people start, they'll have one great idea, but the business they may end up being in 5 years later is dramatically.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard this from so many people who you've talked to.
Yeah.
Our very first product wasn't actually the Locket. It was actually one of these cigarette case type of products that held photographs. And within a year, we started to pivot more into a jewelry direction. But sometimes that first idea will take you down a road that's a really special road.
Absolutely. And obviously you want to listen to your customers, but like you said, you can't please everyone. And tends to be the bad customers are sometimes louder than the good ones. And you need to be able to recognize that. Just an off the head example, especially if you're in a luxury space or, a position where the products might be a little bit more expensive, everyone's going to ask for it to be cheaper, but that might not be your customer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, there's no question.
And then to the blinders thing, that is something that comes up all the time in business books. Shiny object syndrome is what they call it. In traction, if you understand traction and you set up the EOS model within your business, which research it more. We kind of do it at our agency, but within that book, what they talk about is the idea of like the issues list, and you add these shiny objects to the issues list. And if it's still important later on when you get back to it, maybe look into it. Yeah. But 9 times out of 10, these things just fall off the list because they're not actually important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
There's a lot of distraction, and it's very easy to take your eye off the ball.
There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise out there. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely. Now, if folks are listening to this podcast and they're like, yo, this locket sounds like a fantastic gift for my wife, my mother, my father, etc. Where should they go? What should they do? MonicaRichKosann.com
for our stores, or on our website. It has all the retailers in your local areas all over the country.
Yeah, there's about 130, 140 retail locations around the country of mostly these wonderful independent jewelers. Yes, through our site. And then we have a couple of our own stores as well. So
thank you for asking, Chase.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thank you guys so much for coming on the show today, sharing all those amazing insights.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thanks for having us, Chase. It was really fun. And yeah, really appreciate you having us on.